This is the Sony 90mm f2.8 OSS G macro lens. Boy, is that a mouthful. And if I had to choose just one macro lens for a weekend getaway, without question, I'd grab my Sony 90mm. In this video, I want to share why. And if you're into photography, consider subscribing. Let's jump in. Now, when it comes to macro lenses, there are certainly no shortage in the Sony ecosystem. And this G series lens has been a leading contender for years. However, last year, Laowa released this lens, also a 90mm. However, the Laowa has 2:1 magnification, and many consider it to be the new leading macro lens for Sony. However, the Sony offers a bunch of features that most lenses don't, and one feature in particular that absolutely impacts image quality. The Sony 90mm macro is designed to produce sharp, high-quality images. It's built with 15 elements in 11 groups, including a Super ED glass element which helps to reduce chromatic aberration and produces accurate colors. And the lens has a circular 9-blade aperture which produces a pleasing bokeh effect in the background of images. And the lens is a true macro lens. It has a 1:1 magnification ratio, which means that subjects appear life-size on the camera sensor. This makes it ideal for capturing small details and textures, such as the patterns on a butterfly's wing or the tiny hairs on an insect. And because we've got a 90mm focal range, it makes it ideal for capturing those insects. The working distance is about 4 to 5 inches and makes it a little bit easier to get up close and personal. Now, that one feature that this lens has that hardly any other macro lens has for the Sony camera lineup is OSS, Optical Steady Shot. And it's really a big deal if you want a lens that's really versatile. Because macro photography often involves working in low light conditions or using slow shutter speeds to capture detail. And this can result in blurry images due to camera shake. However, again, the Sony's built-in OSS really helps to mitigate that. And if you do want a versatile lens, let's say you want to shoot portraits, because a great portrait lens is 85mm, well, this is 90mm, almost the same focal range. So it would be great at a wedding, and why not take some video footage along with the photos, and having built-in steady shot is gonna make that video footage just that much more pleasing. And if we're talking features and versatility, well, the Sony G lens has autofocus built into the lens, the technology, and it allows you to take great photos easily, especially of those portraits, wedding portraits, kids, outside, landscapes. The Sony autofocus system in this lens is pretty good. Now, if you're shooting true macro, you're gonna find yourself eventually shooting your subjects in manual focus, so having autofocus, well, it doesn't matter quite as much. The lens also has a focus limiter switch which allows the photographer to select the focus range to improve the autofocus speed. The switch has two options, a full and a limited, where the full range allows the photographer to focus on any distance within the lens's range, while the limited range restricts the focus distance between 0.5 meter and infinity. Now, the build quality of this lens is fantastic, just like most G and G Master lens. I gotta tell you, I've got a number of different G lenses, and I find them to be such a great value. They're not cheap, but they're packed with features just like this lens. But for me, it's OSS that makes this lens my go-to macro lens when I'm shooting hybrid, especially hybrid video, as well as photos. Having this lens stabilized, even if you've got a camera that's got IBIS, in-body image stabilization, well, having it paired with a lens that also has optical lens stabilization is going to result in a more pleasing photo experience and most certainly video experience. Fact of the matter is, especially if you do any type of macro work with insects, is it's hard to keep focus. It's hard to handhold, and it's nearly impossible to set up a tripod unless you want to wait and hit a trigger and so on. That makes this lens the absolute king when it comes to run and gun macro video and photo work. To learn more about macro photography and taking great photos, check out one of the videos on the screen now. You dig?